So I recently turned 18, and that means that I am allowed to have a credit card, and this is the first one that I applied to and got in the mail. Ladies and gentlemen, the Discover It student card. It's not a fancy card. It doesn't necessarily have the best rewards or benefits, and I'm not exactly going to be traveling the world with its $750 credit limit, but it's a start to my credit, and it's really important. So I'm going to go through in this video why everybody should get a credit card when they turn 18, but also how they should go about it so that they help themselves substantially instead of crippling themselves financially. Overall, it's a relatively low risk, but in the case scenario that you don't know what you're doing and you do mess up, then it can be really, really bad. So I think it's really important that I go through this for you guys, and then I'm going to leave some other sources, other YouTubers, that you can go watch their videos because they're going to be more experienced than me, and it's really important to have a great financial understanding when you turn 18. But yeah, so I got this card in the mail, and I'm about to go activate it. So before we get into the video, my name is Bianchi. This is Define Wisdom. Please be sure to subscribe to see more of my content, more financial tips for teenagers. Be sure to like if you enjoy the video and you think it might have been useful. And comment down below to help me in the YouTube algorithm. Give me, what was your biggest financial blunder in high school or life so far? There are so many teenagers who just have no idea what a credit card is. And if they do have one, then they might know, they've heard of it, like they've seen their mom's credit card, they've used it to buy food, but they don't really know what it is, why it exists, how to use it. And some people might even be afraid of credit cards. They might hear credit cards, they might think, debt's bad. Every credit card is bad. I shouldn't get one until I'm old and I need it. But that's the wrong mentality, and in the long run, you're gonna benefit your life so much if you get credit cards. But with a little bit of research and a half-decent understanding of finances, you should be able to take credit cards and use them to your advantage. Before I get any deeper into this video though, disclaimer, I am not a financial expert. I do not have a degree in finance yet, and overall, I'm really just a kid with 2 credit cards. I've done a lot of research on the topic, and I think I have a decent understanding of everything, but again, not a financial expert. Anyways, getting back into it. First question, what are credit cards for people who just genuinely have no idea? And that's okay, you're young, I don't expect you to. So you probably know what a debit card is, but if you don't, it's that card with the numbers on it and the magnetic stripe that you can use to pay for things so that the money goes straight from your bank to whoever you're buying stuff from, and you don't have to carry cash around with you everywhere. Well, you can think of credit cards as like that in the way that you don't have to carry cash, and you can swipe your card and money goes from a bank to the supplier, but with a credit card, the money comes from the bank's money, not your money. So you might be thinking, huzzah, free money everywhere. Just take all the bank's money, but no. You have to give the money back eventually. See, banks do this because they charge interest. If you don't give their money back in a month, then they're gonna take a percentage of the money that you owe them and add it to the total. So over time, this is gonna build and build and build, and you're gonna owe them a lot more money than you had originally paid for the item. And if you only have a little bit of common financial sense, you might be saying, like, that's stupid. Why don't I just spend my own money? We have debit cards anyways. There's no point to use a credit card. Well, they do give out free stuff in return. Banks might give rewards, like a certain percentage of cash back off of every purchase, or access to different lounges in airports, free stuff all around. And they pay for this with the interest that they hope to eventually make a profit off of. They can also pay for this with annual fees where you have to pay them $70 a year per se to get the benefits, but that's only a few cards and I don't recommend them for teenagers, at least not ones starting out. So you might be saying, why do kids even need credit cards? The credit cards that a lot of kids can get don't even have any benefits. Well, it improves your credit score and eventually leads into better credit cards. So what is your credit score? Well, your credit score is basically the grade that certain organizations, specifically FICO, gives you based on how you handle your finances. So no, grades don't end when you become an adult. There is always going to be some number that you need to get higher. But the reason that you want a good credit score is because the better the credit score you have, the more likely banks and other organizations are to give you loans. If you need to buy a house, for example, and it costs $300,000, but you only have $30,000 in the bank, you can do that because the bank is going to give you the rest of the money, but they might not be inclined to do so if you have a really bad credit score and you just have never shown anyone that you can handle your money. So how's the FICO credit score calculated? Well, you have your payment history, and that makes up 35% of it. Basically, that's whether or not you make your payments on time. Getting in early on this helps because the more months you make payments on time, the higher your credit score is going to be, and the less your credit score is going to be affected if you ever do miss a payment. The goal, though, is to never ever miss a payment, for the record. Another 30% of it is amounts owed, so they take the ratio of the amount of money that you need to give back to the bank to the amount of money that the bank is willing to give you. You see, every time you get a credit card, they give you a certain limit. For me, I have a $750 limit and a $1,300 limit. Those are incredibly small because I'm just starting out, but basically that's the maximum that a bank is willing to loan out to me. If I were to max those out, go $750 and $1,300 on the credit cards, that would lower my credit score. If I didn't know any money and I got another credit card, so the total amount of credit that banks are willing to give me go from $1,300 plus $750 to $1,300 plus $750 plus another $800 for the other credit card, that helps the score. Another 15% is length of credit history, and this is a big one for getting in early, because if you have a couple credit cards when you turn 18, that's the youngest that you're gonna be able to get a credit card. And the longer that you can have credit cards, the higher your score is gonna be. But this doesn't start until you actually open a line of credit. 10% is credit mix, so that's car loan, mortgage, credit cards. For teenagers, this is going to be difficult. Credit cards are obviously one of them, and if you have multiple credit cards, that can help. But the only other realistic one is really a car or student loans. Car loans, I wouldn't personally recommend, but that really is personal. You could make the argument to take one out and pay a little bit more interest to increase your credit score. And then student loans, some people gotta live with them. I have videos on my channel about whether or not you should go to college in the first place. Those are good conversational pieces that I have linked down in the description and up in the I box. And then the last 10% of your credit score is new credit. Basically, every time you open up a new line of credit, whether that be a new credit card or a new loan, that's gonna slightly decrease your score by give or take 3 to 5 points. So if, say, you wanted to go buy a house and you needed the best credit possible, every single point mattered, you might not want to open up a credit card in the 6 to 12 months prior. But generally speaking, it's not going to be too big of a deal unless you're applying for those big loans, and having multiple credit cards is going to outweigh the con of taking a temporary hit to your credit score. So you're convinced that you need a credit card. Well, what credit cards should you get? For me, when I turned 18, I got the Discover It student card and the Wells Fargo student card. Because they're student cards, they have no annual fee, they don't have too many benefits, but they also gave them to me when I had otherwise no credit. The general plan for me right now is to wait 6 months until my first credit score is shown up, because it does take time for FICO to create a credit score for a new individual. And then after that, I'm going to apply for a couple more cards, maybe the entry-level American Express and another medium-level card. And then another 6 to 8 months after that, I'm going to start looking at the big cards, like an American Express Platinum, and that's a big one with $550 annual fee, but for that you get this laundry list of things, and it's metal, and I want it. But again, I'm not a financial channel, so a YouTuber, Graham Stephan, made a video about the top 5 cards that you should be getting, and I'm going to link to him in the description down below. That was a great video, and he goes over a lot. I'd recommend subscribing to his channel if you're interested in developing a sense of personal finance and you're relatively young. And then when you finally get the cards, what do you do with them? Well, first of all, never pay any interest. I am serious. You should never, ever, 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 ever pay interest on a credit card unless you're in some advanced or otherwise different scenario. But as a rule of thumb for a high schooler, don't pay interest. If you don't make money, then don't use a credit card as an excuse to buy something you can't afford. Yeah, that $1,000 laptop looks really nice, and oh, I only have to make $100 payments for the next 12 months, but if it's at a 20% interest rate, then you'll wind up paying an extra $200 on top of that, and then you're playing with fire. This is also a good time to mention that you should never be living above your means like that. That's how you get into trouble in the long run. Yeah, sure, in that specific example, could you come up with $100 a month? Yeah. But that mentality of being able to have things that you really can't afford, that's a slippery slope. And that's how people get into loads of credit card debt with houses they can't afford. And when enough people do that, the economy crashes like it did in 2008. So don't pay interest. It's not worth it. Work for what you want and buy it with the money you have. Don't borrow it from someone else. This is a tool. And it's a tool that you can easily injure yourself with. So be careful. Another tip is make all your payments on time, and that's really important to get that good credit score. So set up automatic payment if the bank allows it, or otherwise just keep an eye on it. You should be doing that anyways for fraudulent charges. For me, since I don't really even buy that much stuff, I just know that whenever I buy something, I put it on my credit card and then I open the app on my phone and I hit make payment. So there's not even a question mark as to whether or not I'm gonna do it. Another tip is never max it out. And while that is only temporary right now, FICO just released new scoring guidelines that are gonna be implemented soon that do look into your credit history as to how often you've maxed it out and other intricacies like that. But don't worry, the advice still applies in this video. They just worked out some of the fine print, but it's still something to keep in mind that you shouldn't be maxing your credit cards out. So guys, get your credit cards, use them nicely, build that credit score. Maybe in a year, we can travel the world together for free on American Express's dime. Or perhaps you can go and buy that awesome car that you want because some bank is going to give you a 4% interest rate on it. Whether or not that's a good financial decision, that's for you to decide. I'm talking about credit cards in this video. So again, please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment if you're going to get a credit card, just anything, just comment. Please, please comment. It helps my channel out so much when you comment. Like, honestly, if you've made it this far into the video, I'm really drilling into commenting here. If you've made it to the very end, you can owe me a comment, just for me, for my little 256 subscriber YouTube channel. I'm aiming for 1,000 by the end of the summer. Speaking of subscribers, subscribe if you did make it this far, because obviously you kind of have to a little bit enjoy the content, and I'm trying to make 1,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. So that's gonna be it. Peace. That does look pretty nice.